So Jermell Charlo came out with a serious warning to Castano, where he stated, quote, "I'm in straight war mode. I don't give a F what type of tricks they trying to play. Nothing else really matters. I'm prepared to endure pain and find a solution at any moment. One more belt to grab and I have completed a dream that an 8-year-old once had. Never changed my mind, only to get stronger." Castano pulled out of the fight to buy time for a bigger ass beating. "It's not on me, it's in me. The air we breathe is not the same. True essence of what lions only really means. I won't let this type of adversity slow my grind. I peep all they moves, 2 steps ahead. Somebody tell Castano, show them doctor reports, and take them VADA testing so we can move forward with knocking his ass out. Hashtag OHB." End of the quote. Man, Jermell Charlo got me super hyped, but it's all for nothing, thanks to Castano postponing the fight due to an injury. Now, just like the Tony Harrison rematch when Tony Harrison sustained an injury, Jermell Charlo does not believe it, which he has every right to. Therefore, he is requesting proof from Castano. He's requesting Castano to show them doctor reports. So did the WBO. Even the WBO does not believe it. They gave Castano 1 week to show proof, and if he doesn't, he will be ordered to fight his mandatory Tim Tszyu. Now, the fact that Castano haven't showed proof yet tells me there is definitely something fishy going on, because if he did not fake an injury, he would have been able to show proof the same day. I mean, in this day and age, anything can be bought, especially in Argentina, which raises the question, why would Castano fake an injury? And the answer is very simple. In order to benefit more from steroids during the cyclation process. I mean, there is no other reason for Castano to sign the contract, but for some odd reason, he haven't filled out his VADA form yet. We know what time it is. It's PED's time, and Jermell Charlo definitely suspects that. Like I said before, there is no other reason to why Castano haven't taken VADA testing yet. Apparently, Castano's motto is, if you can't beat them, cheat them. Furthermore, leading up to the rematch, I really thought this was a 50-50 fight due to how the first fight went. However, because of Charlo hunger and supposedly Castano faking an injury so he can delay VADA testing some more, it's more than fair to say that the ties are quickly shifting back toward Jermell Charlo. Nevertheless, here is what an expert, Victor Conti, had to say about fighters that delay VADA drug testing, the purpose of it, and the exact process of cycling off PEDs/steroids. Check it out.
Listen, Devin Haney's getting ready to fight in 4 weeks. You know, we submitted all the forms on October 26th, and then there was all these delays, and you know, and I still don't even think JoJo signed the forms and got them in. You play the hand that you're dealt. Sometimes you get a royal flush, you get the 12 weeks, and sometimes you end up with less. But you want some testing in place. And so I wish there could be longer. Yes, with Caleb, we wanted 12 weeks, but we did end up, I think, with 10 weeks. It only takes like 20 minutes to fill out these forms. I fill them out for most of the fighters that I work with and submit them. So why does it take day after day after day? And let me give an example. When Nonito Donaire fought Casimero, they dragged their heels for 7 days. Now, Memo Heredia, who was advising Casimero at the time, a known drug supplier, he said, I can clear any drug in 48 hours. Well, why, when they got the letter on Tuesday, did they not submit the forms until Saturday afternoon after the fight had already been canceled, because they'd been told every single day that they were going to cancel the fight if they don't get the forms in. Then they cancel the fight and mysteriously the forms show up. Then he was tested the following Tuesday, but that was 7 days after he got the original notice. So you need to get the forms in promptly, because as we just discussed, some of these drugs can clear in 24 to 48 hours.
Wow. Yeah, so there's plenty of loopholes you could get around by.
When you see people dragging their feet and not enrolling and giving excuses, they're likely tapering off drugs, waiting for the drugs to clear before they enroll.
In your opinion, if a fighter turned down VADA drug testing, they say no for no reason whatsoever, most likely they dirty, right?
I would say that the media needs to be all over them asking why you're not doing the testing, you know, and especially if the A side's willing to pay for it, or they're dictating that there's going to be testing. And why do you drag your heels? Why do you not do the testing? Seems like you have something to hide.
And to eliminate that issue, shouldn't VADA drug testing start as soon as fighters start negotiating instead of when they sign the contract? If you want to fight, you need to agree to VADA drug testing right now before we even negotiate. Would that
really
eliminate some of the issue?
I don't know how you enforce that. How do you enforce when there is no fight that the testing start? Who's going to pay for it? I don't think the promoter is going to pay for it. I will tell you, my experience is it's this testing by VADA is fighter driven. It's not the promoters that want this testing. They don't want testing because there's been several cases. Lamont Peterson, Andre Berto, where they've invested $250,000 to $500,000 in promoting these fights, and then somebody pops positive. They lose all that money. So they're certainly not looking to have more testing. The promoters themselves, there's a financial incentive there to not do testing. It comes from the boxers forcing, and they either pay themselves or have a sponsor that pays, or they demand that the promoter pays. But the testing is boxer driven. It's not promoter driven.
What a lot of people want to know is how much gains from cycling off steroids does a fighter benefit fight night? Is it by like 20%, 25% approximately? Does that boost his stamina, speed, power? Do you have any idea how much benefits they receive from cycling off PEDs if they do 8-week VADA drug testing?
So they can train longer, more repetition, faster, harder punches. And when you do that over a period of months during a training camp, of course the benefits are going to show up and you're going to perform better on fight night. So let's put it this way. What in my history, back in 2001 and 2, I helped a world-class sprinter named Tim Montgomery. They called him Tiny Tim. And he weighed 148 pounds. And we had a whole team of experts. Charlie Francis, the coach for Ben Johnson, was the track coach. Milo Sarchev, a professional bodybuilder, was involved in the strength and conditioning. And of course, we were using a whole array of performance-enhancing drugs. Something called the Clear, which is a modified, testosterone, insulin, EPO, thyroid, growth hormone, etc. And he gained, in 8 weeks of training, he gained from 148 to 176, 28 pounds. So his bench press increased from baseline was 265, and after 8 weeks he bench pressed 345. So you're talking an average in gains of 10 pounds per week for 2 months. Now thereafter, he ran indoors and won the silver medal at the World Championships. Then outdoors, we cut him back down. He actually competed indoors at 168, 20 pounds over. And then at outdoors, he competed at 160, where he also won the silver medal as well. But the point I'm trying to make is these are very powerful drugs. It's virtually, you can pick the right mom and dad, and that's important. But the gains that you make from using drugs, you wouldn't want to fight a guy that's on a full array of performance-enhancing substances.
So the closer you can get away with it to fight night, cycling off steroids, the more benefits they will receive. Let's say I cycled off steroids 4 weeks before a fight for my upcoming fight, and then my partner, he cycled off PEDs 8 weeks before his fight. How much more benefit will I gain from taking PEDs than he does?
Well, the closer you can get to the fight, the better and greater the gains that you're going to retain. So this is why you see guys that drag their feet and don't sign up right away. And there have been guys in the past that have fought some of the snack fighters, and we have to chase them down. and they wait and they don't send in the forms and they give you excuses and blah, 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 blah. And that's because they want an opportunity for these drugs to clear their system, because the testers know that the minute that you sign that contract, oftentimes they're waiting on the side of the stage at the press conference, or they're there within 24 to 48 hours, because they understand that sometimes boxers miscalculate the taper period.
How long PEDs stay in your system? And does that vary for different PEDs?
Of course, it varies for different PEDs. And let me explain now, so people understand. Boxers or others who are subjected to testing, for the most part, are not doing anabolic steroids. They're doing testosterone. And the reason is because your body manufactures testosterone. It's an endogenous hormone. It's more difficult to differentiate between what your body creates and what you take from outside.
How long does that stay in your system? Doses of testosterone, PEDs, small doses of it. If they try to minimize the time span that it stays in your system in case they get random drug tested and they want to pass it. So what is the time span of that staying in your system? A week, 2 weeks, if you take small doses of testosterone?
Well, let's talk about a recent positive. The guy from Venezuela that was supposed to fight Benavidez is coming up here on the 13th of November. I can't pronounce his name, but he tested positive for EPO. Okay. Now, how long it takes to clear the system first depends upon the method of administration. If you inject it in your quadricep or you inject it into the adipose or fat tissue in your stomach, and depending upon the dose, if you do a normal dose, like typically the way it works is you do it what they call a therapeutic dosage initially, which means 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for 2 weeks. And that's to build up your red blood cell count. Thereafter, you reduce, you only take it 1 time a week. Now, when they're microdosing, instead of the 3 times or the 1 time, they take and divide that total dose and they do it every day. So they do smaller amounts. If you do it, so by adipose tissue or like they do growth hormone or in your stomach, 43 hours, it's been shown. If you do it by IV, 19 hours, which means if you're doing a smaller dosage and you're timing it correctly, it can probably clear your system in 8 to 10 hours. So if you do it at night, by the time the testers come in the morning, you're going to be clear.
Well, that's going to be extremely difficult to catch a person like that's doing that, though.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And like I say, what happens is that the boxers think that once they've passed that time on their whereabouts form that they've given for 1 hour a day that they'll be at the gym or wherever, they will say, okay, well, now I can do the injection so that it clears before the next day when they might come. Problem for that method is they're now showing up at gyms, they're showing up at boxers' houses at night because they understand what they're doing and how they're circumventing. So, I don't know exactly, when they went because I don't have privy to any of that information. But obviously, this Venezuelan 168-pounder got busted for EPO. If you look just a short while back, the same thing happened with Pascal. He got busted for growth hormone and EPO. So you see that this cat and mouse game, that the testers are getting smarter and more boxers are getting busted.
To make it clear, that's during testing, right? But let's say before testing starts, off camp, before camp starts, let's say I'm a fighter, I'm taking small doses of testosterone and PED, so on and so forth. And then I have a fight coming up 8 weeks ahead. I have to sign the contract. I have to agree to VADA drug testing. What's the time span I need to clean my system, to clean my body so I could pass VADA drug testing when I do start?
Depends upon the drug, but it's relatively quick. I'm talking a matter of days. So smart people that have experience with this and understand the way it works can definitely become a challenge to catch them using drugs. Let me just elaborate on something that I just thought of. And that is this a lot of this can be fixed by the boxers themselves. And what I'm working on and I've been talking with Margaret Goodman about at VADA is the group of fighters that I work with do VADA testing. So we're talking about Devin Haney, we're talking about Demetrius Andrade, we're talking about Julian Williams, we're talking on and on. I think that Nonito Donaire would be also willing to do this. A program could be put together where they could establish a 24/7, 365 program. There would be, you can't pin down the number, but about monthly or testing, maybe 8 times a year, 10 times a year, random testing